Have you ever taken the time to notice a similarity in personality between people that tend to be more liberal and people that tend to be more conservative? Well, psychological research has actually shown a relationship between someone's personality and their typical political beliefs. For example, is someone who is more comfortable trying new foods, traveling to different countries, and generally stepping out of their comfort zone more likely to lean liberal? Well, psychology says actually yes, they are. Research on the big 5 personality traits, which include openness to experience, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism, have shown a correlation between how people score on these domains of personality and which political party they tend to belong to. Now, if you're interested in taking the Big 5 personality test before looking at the results of these in this video, I'll leave a link in the below so that you can actually take that test. It only takes about 10 minutes, it's super fast. And it'll be really fascinating to compare what you get on that test and if it lines up with what the research says. Alright, let's start with the first one, which is openness to experience. Now, people that score high in openness to experience tend to enjoy trying new things. These people tend to be very creative and open-minded. They also tend to be risk takers and more spontaneous. They are the adventurous types of people, and people that score very high on openness to experience may put themselves out of their comfort zones more than their less open peers, and they also tend to score higher on things such as intelligence as well. Not surprisingly, people that score really high on openness to experience tend to actually lean more liberal. And this makes complete sense because people that are more liberal tend to not place as high of a value in sticking to the status quo and sticking with tradition, such as conservatives value. It's more of the mindset of, hey, let's try this new thing and let's try this new way of doing things, as opposed to, no, let's stick with what we already know, let's stick with what's already working, which is what conservatives tend to value more. Alright, the next domain of personality is conscientiousness. People who score high in conscientiousness tend to be very effective, competent, excel in orderliness and organization, and are very self-disciplined people who are great at getting tasks done and completing goals. An example of someone who scores very low in conscientiousness would be if you walk into their room and it looks like a tornado hit it, like mine, or if their papers are on their desk scattered everywhere, they're not very organized, that would be someone who scores pretty low in conscientiousness. So someone that scores high on the domain of conscientiousness actually tends to lean more conservative. And this also makes sense because conservatives tend to favor more rules and order. And rules and order, these things tend to be associated more with conservatism. Alright, now think of the most extroverted person that you know. Extroversion versus introversion is the next level of domain on the personality scale. Interestingly, this personality trait, extroversion, actually has no correlation between whether someone leans more liberal or conservative. However, people that score higher on extroversion tend to be more likely to go to rallies, to protests, and to generally engage more in political activities that involve groups, which is a no-brainer. That makes sense for extroverted individuals. Alright, so now think of the person in your life that you know that is super easygoing, very easy to get along with, compliant, doesn't like drama, and they're very likable and people trust them and they're very altruistic individuals. These are people that score high on the agreeableness scale. People who score high on agreeableness tend to score slightly more as liberal, however, there's a very weak correlation actually between the two. Alright, and the last trait on the Big 5 personality test is neuroticism. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think there's many good connotations when you hear the word neurotic. Neuroticism has to do with traits such as impulsiveness, vulnerability to stress, likelihood of getting anxiety and depression, and self-consciousness. So people that score low on neuroticism, on the other hand, tend to have much more of a stable, predictable mood, and just generally have an emotionally stable disposition. People that score higher on neuroticism again tend to lean actually slightly more liberal. However, once again, there is a very weak correlation between the two. So the main takeaway point that you should get from these personality and political psychological research is that the only statistically significant correlation between actually linking one's personality traits and whether they tend to be more liberal or conservative is the domains of openness to experience, which is related more to liberalism, and conscientiousness, which is related more to conservatism. Now, obviously, other things affect someone's political ideology, such as the family they grew up in, their own experiences, And personality is just one domain out of all of the multitude of factors that contribute to building someone's political beliefs. However, personality is just one really interesting factor that some research has actually been done in. Alright, so hopefully you learned something new in this video, and next time you meet someone that is super messy and disorganized, maybe goes on these spontaneous adventures and does some risky things now and then, you can wholeheartedly conclude that they are a liberal person. No, I'm just kidding. You can't assume something like that just based off of these studies. It's not a one-to-one ratio. However, now maybe you can get more of a sense into how someone's personality likely affects their political beliefs as well as the other factors that contribute to it. Alright, and if you found the information in this video helpful, or you know you'll be needing more psychology knowledge in the future, then consider subscribing so that you don't miss out on any future information. See you next time.